Living in Virginia, you're in the fast lane on the information superhighway. We've invested $3 billion in Virginia's broadband network to give you one of the fastest internet connection speeds in the world, so you can build relationships, bring new business to our state, and meet the future of education. It's amazing what we can do together. Visit VCTA.com to learn how broadband connects the Commonwealth.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast, connecting Virginians to their government. We're pleased to have two members of the General Assembly with us today. Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for
Senator
having me.
George Barker, good to see you again, sir.
Great to be here with you again. Thank you.
So we're about 4.5 days into the short 46-day session.
Yes.
How are things going, Senator?
Actually pretty good. Unlike in Washington, D.C., we get along pretty well. We have a few little maneuverings and a few little differences here and there, but we know how to work through those types of things. And I'm optimistic that we will be successful in tackling the issues that we need to get done this year.
So as usual, the budget, which has to be balanced by the end of this session, is going to be a huge issue once more.
Right. And we are doing very well in Virginia. Our economy is growing. After we went through a big hit after the sequestration hit in 2013, and we bounced back strong. Our revenues are consistently running ahead of projections the last few years, and we're on pace to do that again this year. So I think we're actually in a very good posture right now. What we're seeing is that one of the issues we have to tackle, and hopefully very soon in the next week or so get it resolved, is the tax issue. Because of changes in the federal tax law, there are implications for us at the state level, and I think we will. There is a compromise out there that will provide an increase in the standard deduction for people who are using that rather than itemization because of the change at the federal level, and also including in that some support for working people who get the earned income tax credit and qualify for that. And they will be able to get a larger amount of the amount that they have been due but not been collecting all of that. So I think we're going to actually be in good position to get those things passed, and then we will be able to do some modest increases in some spending. There are some targeted at schools, particularly at teachers, and I think we're going to benefit significantly from that with locally as well as statewide.
Great. Delegate Guzman, this is your second full session, I believe. What did you learn from last session that you can apply to this session?
I would say that when you have an idea of a bill that you want to propose, what I learned is that I have to reach out to the stakeholders involved ahead of time so I can get their, not the buy-in, but their feedback of how this bill is going to affect them or not. And then after having that conversation, include their feedback when I'm going to propose a bill. Otherwise, you don't want to be surprised during a public hearing having someone that is going to oppose your bill. So far, we have done it so well that we have found many people that is supporting the agenda that I'm bringing in this year.
Great. And I know part of your agenda relates to criminal justice reform. Talk to us about the issues involved in that.
Sure. So right now in Virginia, we have 14-year-olds that could be trialed as an adults. So I'm trying to change that. I'm bringing a bill that will increase that age to 16 years of age, but we are going to exclude capital murder, and we're going to exclude also aggravated rape and anything that had to do with guns. And so we're hopeful that that's going to get through. We're working with the Department of Juvenile Justice, who has sponsored this bill, and there is a companion bill presented by State Senator Dave Marsden in the Senate. So we're hopeful about that. We're also bringing a bill that will not allow, right now in Virginia, you can smoke with an 8-year-old inside your car. So this is about children's health. You know, as a mother of 4 children and as a social worker, I'm always wanted to fight to protect children's health. So my bill will raise the age from 8 to 16 years of age. I think that as a child or a teenager of 16 years of age can push back and said, I don't want this, I'm not enjoying this secondhand smoke, that is so dangerous, you know. There is no research out there on when the lungs of children fully develop, but I know for sure that at the 8 years of age is not developed. Also, another bill that I'm bringing is that will not allow children under the age of 15 to waive their Miranda rights. You know, I believe that everyone in Virginia should have a right to due process, and it's our job as legislators to protect their children's constitutional rights.
So right now, if I have a child who's age 14 and he or she gets in trouble with the law, serious trouble, that child can be transferred to adult court. And what you're suggesting in terms of your legislation, they would at least have to be age 15 before they could occur.
Yeah, it have to be 16. And also there's one thing that we need to consider, that once a child is tried as an adult, that will remain in the record for the rest of their life. So if they commit a crime later, they will be tried as an adult. So a child tried as an adult once will be tried as an adult for the rest of their lives until, forever, even if it's during 15 or 16 years of age or 17. That's how it affects people's lives. And you know, a 15-year-old do not understand the consequences of having a criminal record. You know, I have constituents that have reached out to me that their children, have been in trouble when they were younger, and now they are trying to get a government job. Even a bus driver, they cannot get a job like that with a criminal record.
Now, you talked about due process. Does a prosecutor make a determination as to who will be transferred from juvenile court to adult court, or is there a hearing before a judge that ultimately makes that determination?
So right now, it all depends. You know, many times that when you are interviewing a child, you're gonna try to get the child to plead guilty before they are going to a due process. So my bill is trying to protect those children. They don't understand the process. They should have access to representation before they say anything, and they just don't understand the system.
Senator, talk to us about redistricting. We know that there are a number of matters pending in court right now, and the Supreme Court recently refused to intervene in a matter here in Virginia, and a master is in the process of redrawing but state legislative district lines.
Yes, Virginia actually, unfortunately, has twice this decade, out of 3 options, been found guilty of racial gerrymandering on districts. We had that with the congressional districts, and that was addressed in 2015 and early 2016, and it led to redrawing of 2 districts because the House of Delegates and Senate, in passing the bill in 2012, had packed every African American they could find from Hampton Roads to Richmond in one district, and had really denied people access to be able to select a candidate of their choice outside of that one district. That has taken effect now, and we have a new congressman who used to be my seatmate in the state Senate, Donald McEachin. Now the House of Delegate lines have also been found racially gerrymandered, and the Supreme Court is basically letting it go through with new lines being drawn in Hampton Roads and the Richmond area. Special Master has given options to a 3-judge panel, the 3-judge panel that ruled on the racial gerrymandering, and that 3-judge panel will sometime later this month in January, or if not in very early February, redraw lines in Richmond and Hampton Roads areas. It won't affect us in Prince William or Northern Virginia, but in those areas. And that will provide more access and more ability of African American voters to be able to select a candidate of their choice.
What about the call for a bipartisan commission to deal with redistricting as opposed to the elected politicians?
Well, I've been working on this issue for many years and had different forms of a redistricting commission proposed over the years. The legislation or the constitutional amendment that I'm carrying this year is one that would create a commission to be able to draw the lines for both the congressional districts as well as for the state Senate and House of Delegates districts. What my proposal is that there be 8 citizen members of that commission selected through a process to make it fair and balanced there, but also that there would be 8 legislators. Of those, 4 would be Republicans, 4 would be Democrats, 4 would be members of the Senate, 4 would be members of the House. And what you would have to do is you'd have to get 6 of the 8 votes from the citizen members and 6 of the 8 votes from the legislators to be able to pass a plan. What it would ensure is that everybody had to work together to come to a common sense plan that is balanced from a partisan perspective and makes sense from a geographic perspective, and that the citizens could not dictate to the legislators can't dictate to the citizens, the Republicans can't dictate to the Democrats can't dictate to the Republicans, so we would all have to work together to come up with a plan, rather than people in one political party that happens to be in the majority at that time being able to draw everything to benefit themselves and their party.
Would that plan then be subject to review and approval by the legislature?
Yes, the plans, once adopted by this commission, would go back to the legislature. The legislature would not be able to amend the plans, but would have the ability to vote up or down on those plans, and the governor would be involved in that process as well. So there are many checks and balances built into that plan, and I think it provides protection, and it will lead to much greater fairness in terms of the districts that are drawn. We have to pass it this year to get it adopted and change in our Constitution prior to the 2021 redistricting, because to become an amendment to the Constitution, you have to have identical wording passed in 2 straight years. So it would be in 2019 and 2020 we would pass it. It would then go to the voters in November of 2019, and it will actually start being implemented at the end of November in 2020 then. So.
And Delegate Guzman, I believe you have a voting rights matter that you're pursuing this session as well.
Yes, I am bringing a bill that will